Facebook is now the largest purveyor of news in the United States. More Americans get their news from Facebook than any other source, NBC's claims notwithstanding. And increasingly, and I kind of laugh when I say increasingly because this has been going on for decades now, but in particular over the last decade, that news has had a right-wing tilt to it. The information that people are getting out of Facebook has had a right-wing tilt to it. So how is that happening? What's going on? Why and how are social media dominating or being dominated by right-wing, in many cases, dis or misinformation sources? Judd Legum is the journalist and founder of popular.info. Popular.info, the website, of course, his Twitter handle is Judd Legum, Juddlegum. And he's on the line with us right now. Judd, your report today on popular.info, I subscribe to it, and I'll put it right up front. I think everybody should. It's just a great newsletter over on Substack. And it just blew my mind what Facebook is letting these guys get away with. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, it came to my attention that there was a website. I had come across it in the past, but I saw it more and more, called Conservative Brief. Not really one that you hear much about, not really one that's talked about. It doesn't really produce content that would get people talking about it because most of it's just aggregations of tweets and YouTubes. And there's a million sites like this on the internet. But this one had become very, very popular on Facebook, and I started digging into it and discovered, through getting some data from analytics company, that they had actually recently become more popular on Facebook than either the New York Times or the Washington Post. So digging into that a little bit, I tried to figure out why or how they had become so popular, and what I found is that there were a series or a whole group of very influential, mostly far-right conservatives, people like Dinesh D'Souza, who's just a longtime polemicist, Bridget Gabriel, who really focuses more on anti-Islam type stuff. But anyway, there's a whole group of these folks, and they're posting every day, 10, 12 links to Conservative Brief, all in succession. And this is driving their popularity. Conservative Brief doesn't even have its own Facebook page. And then looking even further into it, if you see how they're posting the links, they're essentially posting it with a unique code that allows them to get credit from Conservative Brief for how much traffic they're driving. So what it looks like to me is that there is a pay-to-play operation going on, meaning that Conservative Brief is paying these right-wing influencers to post their content, and in so doing have able to been really successful at manipulating the Facebook algorithm.
Now, is that against the Facebook rules?
Yes, that is against the Facebook rules. In fact, in 2020, a couple of years ago, I found a similar scheme that involved the Daily Wire. They were paying another different group of Facebook pages to post their content using this same technique. And Facebook admitted, yes, this was against its rules. They said that it had to stop. They issued some punishments or some enforcement actions, as they called them. And that was that. This time, though, I did reach out to them and got in touch with them, but they ultimately declined to comment.
Wow, that's and if I recall correctly from reading your article this morning, the woman who was running the scam operation 2 years ago is now running the current scam operation. Do I have that right?
There's some overlap. There's a guy. I think his name is Carmen Sabia.
Oh, okay. I assumed that was a woman. Forgive me.
Yeah. He is actually a man, but he was involved with the site that the Daily Wire was paying to post its links.
Right.
And now he's part of the Conservative Brief and one of their 3 employees.
So you know, it has occurred to me many, many times that much of the conservative Sturm und Drang is really not about ideology. It's really about making money. I mean, Kevin Rudd, the former Prime Minister of Australia, pointed out that this is what Rupert Murdoch has been doing for 40 years, and that it has, his article was in the Sydney Morning Herald, and it was titled, "Rupert Murdoch is the cancer at the core of Australian democracy." And he said he did it to Australia to make money. Then he went to the UK and did it to make money. By this time now, he's a billionaire. He came to the United States. He's doing it to us to make money. It's not about ideology. It's about making money. And I, I mean, I've been in this radio business now for 19 years, and I've known a lot of right-wing radio hosts, and a lot of them get spiffed just hugely. I mean, like, $30, $40, $50, $60,000 speaking fees for talking to a group of 12 people as a way that some of these right-wing conservative foundations will just keep them going, right? Even it's just money floating all over the place in the right-wingosphere. To what extent do you think that these guys are just running a con or a scam to make money, with outrage on the gullible Americans who then react to this by showing up on January 6th or in a trucker convoy or something, or at the school board? Really not because they care about the issues, but because, hey, let's make some money here.
Yeah, I think money is a huge part of this. If you look at the Conservative Brief website, it is just, you can barely read the articles. There's so many ads. I mean, there's ad units popping up everywhere. It's kind of like the internet was in 2002, before people got sick of so many ads.
Yeah.
And so any traffic that's getting driven, they're probably able to make a fair amount of money. Because each of those ad units, even if it's only, a few pennies, that will add up over time, especially because Facebook, if you're very popular on Facebook, has the ability to direct a large amount of traffic. So right. These posts are very valuable. So Conservative Brief is making money. It's likely that these folks who are posting the links are making money. And I think at the same time, they're probably happy to do so because these sites do match their ideology. I mean, a lot of right. the folks who are doing this, like a D'Souza, is really a conspiracy theorist and, says all sorts of outrageous things. And this is a site that promotes a lot of that type of stuff. Right. So, most of what you'll read about Conservative Brief, if you Google it, are all the fact checkers who are talking about how this article or that article is not true, that was posted on Conservative Brief and then went viral on Facebook. So, that's.
So even in dismissing,
there's an alignment politically as well. But I do agree with you that I do think the primary goal here is to make money.
Right. Yeah. How granular are these rules? For example, you just outed these guys. Can they get around it? So Dinesh D'Souza, he was one of the big players here. He's got over 1 million followers on Facebook. He's been posting these things to Conservative Brief like crazy, which kind of suggests he's being paid to do it, although we don't know for sure. But couldn't he just put a disclaimer and say, we may receive some compensation from Conservative Brief for posting this? Would that then put him in compliance?
You can't do that. No, Facebook has a fairly strict rule, and I got very familiar with this a couple of years ago when I first started doing this kind of reporting. That says if you're not involved in creating the content, you can't be compensated for publishing it. Now you can, like on Instagram, you can do a sponsored post where you go and you say, hey, this new face cream is great, and blah blah blah, and then the face cream makers pays you money and you disclose it. That's okay, but you can't just publish content that someone else has made or a link like that and get paid for it.
So if you're linking to a commercial product and you're revealing that they actually sponsor you, then that's within the realm of what's okay from Facebook, because that's all above board. There's no deception going on.
That's right, but you can't just say, hey, I've been compensated to post this link. Now here's what happened since I published this article this morning. And I'll have an update tomorrow. We'll see what happens with this and how Facebook reacts. But I'll have an update tomorrow. But what's happened is the About page, which used to lists 3 people. That's one of the things I highlighted, that this site that's now bigger than the New York Times and the Washington Post on Facebook only has 3 people working for it, has now been changed. And all of the people that I listed as posting these links are now, and actually a few others, are now listed as contributor/influencers. Now, none of these people are actually contributors because they haven't written for this site. They haven't contributed anything to the site. But it is effectively an admission that there is a relationship, and these people are getting paid as a result of that relationship. But I think what they're trying to do is, claim that they're somehow employees involved in the site in some more meaningful way, because it is the case, like, if you are, if you work for CNN and you have your own page and you post CNN content, CNN is paying you money. They're not paying you to post the content, but that's okay because you're getting paid for some other work you're doing for the company, and then you just happen to be posting CNN content, right? But you can't just be paid to post. So they're trying to see if they can get around this. I mean, it seems pretty transparent to me, but we'll see what Facebook says.
Yeah, amen. Judd Legum, the newsletter, popular.info, and it's great. You need to check it out. You can subscribe for free, in fact. Popular.info. Judd, thanks a lot for dropping by. Great talking with you.